We should stick. The listeners used to a particular way, and you're the brains. I just hold up the little cards that say, "What's your third, Jeff?" Hello and welcome to episode 286 of the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast, a proud member of the Marketing Podcast Network. Hope you're well and staying as sane as you feel you need to be. I'm your host, Ian Truscott, managing partner at B2B tech advisory Velocity B, and on this podcast, I chat with a band of marketing chums who share their marketing street knowledge, which I hope will bring out the rockstar marketer in you. This week, my chum and principal analyst at Clean Tech Insiders, Jeff Clark, is back from his latest vacation, and we dive into a report by Norwest, a venture capital company called the B2B Sales and Marketing Benchmark, from which Jeff pulls 5 effing things that caught his eye. But first, we need to pay the bar tab. I'll be back in a moment.
We'll be right back after this word.
We'll be right back
After this word.
When it comes to relevant content, you may have heard Jeff and me talk about the multis on this show. Multi-channel, multi-device, multi-persona, and multi-language. On that last one, let me ask, how confident are you that your content actually connects in every market? You're not sure? Well, it might be time to check out Phrase. In our experience, this stuff used to be hard, but Phrase makes it simple with its industry-leading AI localization platform that helps you deliver content in multiple languages without losing your tone, your message, or your mind. It automates the manual work, slashes review time, and gives you real data on what's working and where. Brands like Uber and Zendesk trust Phrase to scale their content across the globe and get it right every time. If you're serious about reaching more people and driving better results internationally, head over to phrase.com/MPN and take a look. That's phrase.com/MPN.
Are you tired of juggling multiple software tools to manage your agency? Say hello to Deltek Workbook, the ultimate solution for marketing and communication agencies. With Workbook, you can streamline your projects, resources, and finances all in one place. Imagine real-time dashboards and reports giving you full visibility into your projects, people, and financials. Plan your team's capacity weeks in advance to avoid bottlenecks while staying on budget to maximize project margins. Plus, Workbook works perfectly for both agencies and in-house marketing teams looking to boost efficiency and profitability. And here's the best part. At PCI, we're a certified Deltek partner and reseller offering expert implementation, integrations, and ongoing support to ensure your success. Want to see how Deltek Workbook can transform your operations? For a free consultation, visit pci.us/podcast today. That's pci.us/podcast.
And welcome to the Rockstar CMO studio.
Thank you, mate. And again, I find myself welcoming you back, really, don't I?
Yeah, really.
After your holiday.
Many holidays.
In beautiful Maine.
I was spending time on the beautiful coast of Maine, and the weather was beautiful, and it was a welcome break from our hot summer here in the valley. So good time.
And a welcome break from your hot summer in the Nordics.
Yeah, really, that too.
Yeah, because I'm sure you needed another break.
I think everywhere I was going, it was hot. So
nice, and the weather in Massachusetts that you come back to, is
beautiful.
Still hot?
Absolutely.
Good.
Beautiful. No, it's definitely, as we were talking before, we have hit the end of summer. It's cooler at nights and cooler in the day. So it's good.
Yeah. Have you we've had a very dry summer, and so our leaves, some of the trees, the leaves are falling early because of the dry summer. So I was wondering about up your way where the leaves are an important part of the culture.
Yes, it is. It has been dry, and I anticipate that's going to have an impact on the fall colors. And in where we were in Maine, it was really dry. I mean, they've had a drought that's been affecting their farms and blueberries and all that kind of stuff. So it was very, walk on the grass and it's like crackle, crackle, crackle. So,
oh my God, yeah. Then you get the wildfires and stuff anyway. Yes. Oh, wait, so that's the weather update. Oh, here we have, it's been very hot and now some rain coming this week. So
excellent for you.
We are hopefully getting back to a British summer. All right. So this week, and we've had a bit of a sporadic, because you were away, and then you were away. But when we did our budget episode, I think about 6 weeks ago, it might have been the last episode you did before you went to the Nordics. I can't remember. It was episode 280. We pulled a lot of research to put that episode together from various sources, including the obvious ones like Gartner and your old chums Forrester. But we unearthed quite a detailed report called the B2B Sales and Marketing Benchmark Report by Norwest, who are a venture capital company, which I was surprised by. And it is amazing, isn't it, when you do a bit of research, the things that you unearth. And it's an interesting read. And aside from the budget stuff that we pulled out for that episode, and it's a chunky old thing at 90 pages, and also just to give it a bit of background, I know you know this, Jeff, but for the listeners who may not have heard of the Norwest B2B Sales and Marketing Benchmark, because we hadn't, it's based on a survey of 195 sales and marketing leaders from VC and PE-backed companies. And check this out, fellow marketers, it's ungated. So when I include a link to the show notes, you'll be able to get straight to it. And it was published in January. And I know that we're all obsessed with content news, so we shouldn't be talking about something that came in January when it's almost September already. But we think it holds. We think it holds up because when we were looking at it this week, it came out in January 2025, but I don't think a lot has changed in terms of some of the things some of the themes they're talking about that we'll get onto in a moment. And we tucked it away on our digital shelf, and we plan to come back to it, as I think we discussed 6 weeks ago. And Now you're fresh back from vacation. I'm assuming this was your holiday reading, and the time has come. What say you, Jeff?
I love the storyline.
Good.
It was yet another report that was, starts under the premise, we said budgets would be tighter, and then we found they got slashed, so they're even tighter. And I loved the subtitle, "Hold on for one more day," which I was like, usually when you hear something like that, it's like that one more day is like, it's not tomorrow. It's probably not even next year. Or maybe it's, somewhere down there'll be a brighter day where marketers will get more money. But I mean, I thought the good thing about this, report on a lot of the big takeaways is that it's really about sales and marketing, working together. And it's like, sales has issues, marketing has to support. So I think that was one reason to touch on it. Well, and it is perennial. I mean, these are perennial challenges with some new context. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is going off script a bit about what we were going to talk about, but I think that's the way now. I think the sales and marketing need to get together, and I think we need to talk more about revenue and a joint revenue team. And it was interesting. I watched I wasn't going to say who it was. I watched a webinar by a large analyst firm that was talking about your how to organize your marketing team. And I was very surprised about how little focus there was on growth and revenue. And it was primarily about operations. It was about brand. It was about, there's a little bit of performance marketing. But I thought that's what's fucking us up. It's like you can't that's old. You can't think like that anymore, can you? You've got to be thinking revenue. You've got to be thinking revenue and growth and all those things. Or awareness, revenue, and trust, as I say, at the top. Anyway, so back to our point. I think the hold on for one more day thing was interesting because I think the way 2025 has panned out as being much the same as 2024 with added political and economic uncertainty.
Yes.
I suspect when they said that, they meant a year, not a day. Hold on for one more year. I don't know. But anyway.
Hold on as long as you can.
Yes, it seems that way. Anyway, as is the editorial policy of the show, which seems to mean that you do all the work, which you have again this week. You have 5 effing things that jump out for you from this report. So what's the first, Jeff?
The first one is sales cycles are getting longer. So it appears that within certain deal ranges, so in their benchmarking, they were talking, several different deal ranges up to, over $1 million, but it's like from the 50K to 500K range. So in US dollars, they're getting the cycles are getting longer, and at that sort of 100K deal size, they're actually 3 months longer. So getting to a 9 month, average, which, is starting to put these, sort of mid-sized deals into the big enterprise category. And so, one of the ramifications is that, if you're thinking of going up market or down market, depending on what your current deal size is, don't necessarily expect things to get easier if you're going down or, if you're going up, expect them to actually be, even tougher than what you're doing at the smaller deal sizes. And also, I think from a marketer's perspective, it's just important to know that you just can't it's just not about getting deals into cycles. You've got to be thinking about, what are we going to be doing to helping sales as they're working the opportunity. So, what a CMO should be doing is thinking about, how can my product marketing team continue to review, refine the ideal customer profile to identify what deals, are worth, working on, what deals are wasting time, and to ramp up your sort of mid-cycle marketing tactics. What sort of events, what sort of educational content do you need to focus on that helps sales pull that through to close?
And I think this is interesting. The thing you were just saying about that going up and down in the deal cycle, and this perception of what it's going to be like. I mean, I've worked with so many vendors that said, we're going enterprise now, and you think, oh, don't really don't, and because that kills them, because suddenly your revenue, like you said, your revenue then goes out. You're talking about 18-month deals, not 3-month deals. And now if this data is saying that relative, mid-sized deals going to a 9-month average, you've got to think about the cost of sale, haven't you, there, and what you're going to need to invest, cost of acquisition to actually close a 100K deal now, just in labor, right? Yeah. So it's a much tougher ask.
And one of the things which we'll touch on later is the importance, the greater importance of sales enablement. So it's like, it's I should say it's easy, but closing 3-month sales cycle deals, comparing that to closing 9 months, a year-long sale. I mean, it's just there's more the sales rep needs to know to manage that whole opportunity life cycle.
Yeah, we identified it actually working with a recent client I was chatting to, and the sales lead was a very experienced enterprise sales guy. And, he was, in theory, the product that he was selling was a much shorter sales cycle. So they were hiring people, and they had a sort of not a great budget for their sales folks. So they're hiring people who are used to these high churn SaaS products. And it was a bit too enterprisey for them. They didn't really know how to do that enterprise sales. So exactly to your point, it changes the skill set of your sales team, isn't it? When the sales thing broadens out. But yeah, and the other thing, just in your general view about sales cycle getting longer and things being blocked, I did hear, I think it was a Forest webinar, podcast I was listening to the other day, that's suggesting that actually, because there's been so much FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt around for the last couple of years, that there's a backlog of projects that at some point will get the go-ahead because, things, maybe uncertainty becomes a new normal, but they'll get unpaused at some point. So maybe we'll see some of this, logjam freeing up, perhaps.
Yeah. But anyway, and then all the logs will be coming down the river. So you got to be ready for them.
Well, I'm sure that would be wonderful for suppliers. I don't think that'll quite happen, but there is. I mean, I'm tired. All you hear is doom and gloom at the moment, so it's always nice to hear something that suggests that maybe things are going to get a bit more positive. So, what's your second one then, Jeff?
The pressure for buyer urgency. So, what they really mean is that there's the pressure on sales and marketing teams to get urgency at the buying accounts, and it's like, in addition to longer sales cycles, this is, the biggest challenge that CEOs and company founders are positioning their products to be must have, working in a crowded market, the budget scrutiny that's happening on the part of the buyer, and the churn of customers, probably because of their own, budget issues, making their own priorities. so it all comes down to ensuring that the customer views you as the essential solution. And, sort of, we kind of come back to some of the same things we're talking about before, invest more in your audience and your ICP research, doing win-loss analysis, competitive intelligence. I mean, this is all, very helpful. They talk about, kind of like creating a version of your unique value proposition where it says, only your company gives your audience whatever the differentiating capability is. So it's trying to refine that unique value proposition to something that has more of an immediacy to it. And they say if you can't complete the statement succinctly, you have work to do. So, and that's got to be done, in conjunction with your sales and sales enablement teams, because the urgency you're trying to express in the marketing can't just be in the marketing. It's got to be aligned with what they're going to hear from the sales team.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was working with a client recently with, it's the campaign that we're running was a Why Now campaign, to try and create some of that urgency. And I think that's really important at the moment. And I think I may have written a Tuesday 2 cents about Why Now, but that is definitely, part of that, like you say, messaging development. You get your ICP right, you get your statements right, but part of that statement has to be, why would they do anything? Why now? Why? Because as we know, the biggest competitor in B2B has always been do nothing. So, and I think where combined with that first point you were making about the challenge for sellers, getting sales velocity and creating this urgency. I'm also thinking about some of the other stuff we've chatted about the dark funnel, right? About the 95-5 rule and all the stuff that we're learning from that company that we talk about every week almost. That
Forrester?
No, Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense, yes.
Sense. We're always talking about Sixth Sense. And we always talk about Bloody Forrester as well. No, not Bloody Forrester. We
Bloody Forrester.
But and because I was thinking about this actually the other day, because I think that 10, 15 years ago, people were taught solution selling. So then it was in the sales guy got in fairly early in the process and was able to articulate that sense of urgency and somewhat drive the opportunity. Whereas now, if we're now working a world that sort of Sixth Sense, LinkedIn and Forrester are prescribing, that all this stuff is happening before they talk to us in the dark funnel, then your content marketing, your brand needs to indicate urgency, because by the time they've meet the sales guy, right, they've already made their shortlist. It's going to be much more difficult to do that. So I thought that was a really interesting point about urgency and about velocity in sales. It's really hard. And I think a lot of that's now falling to the marketing team. And that also talks to your point, the point we were making earlier, which was now that sales and marketing really need to work together. And it's a revenue team, because you need marketing in that air cover early stage, right? So
absolutely.
That's what I think. So almost more thoughts from me than you there, mate. And you've done all the work.
Just teeing you up.
I don't think that's
that
good.
Does
I don't think that's
tee
good
up.
for the
Oh, you say that good for the show?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's changing the editorial of the show. We should stick. The listeners used to a particular way, and you're the brains. I just hold up the little cards that say, "What's your third, Jeff?" Like the rest of it.
And so you just asked, "What's my third?"
Yes,
because that's what we're up to. So as we kind of referred to a little bit earlier, is teach your AEs well. So they quote and say, without strong sales enablement, AEs struggle to connect the dots. Mm-hmm. So you got to arm AEs to get higher in the org faster. And what's interesting about their benchmark data is this is a function that just rarely exists in companies under, $250 million in revenue US dollars. Like 63 to 68% have no sales enablement function, or they outsource it, or they have a part-time employee. And it's kind of where you get above 50 million, where they start to, to employing an FTE to work in sales enablement. Companies I worked at, which at least the ones I'm thinking about were probably even a little bigger than that, though. It's like, you've got a little army that is helping with sales enablement, because, you're not just teaching about process, but you're teaching about positioning, you're teaching about understanding how the customer thinks. And so, I totally agree. This is an absolutely essential role to fill within an organization. And I certainly have run into many AEs who think, account executives think they know the ropes. They've been there before. They think, what can marketing or sales enablement teach me to do my job better? But, it's really, when we talk about the longer sales cycles, the, greater competition, the need for urgency, then it's like they should be looking for every tool that they can get. And so, CMOs should be ensuring that all the customer intel that they create, goes into content for sales enablement and training, and to make sure that the messaging throughout the buying cycle, and this is kind of one of the things you're pointing out, in the previous comment, aligns with the talking points in the sales cycle, and make sure that you've got skilled product marketing teams that can, serve both the interests of marketing and sales enablement, but to put that material together.
Yeah, and I agree with your point. I mean, I've seen it, like a lot of operation type functions, it gets overlooked, and, broadly marketing operations sometimes gets overlooked too in these smaller organizations, doesn't it? So, and this particular thing falls between the cracks of the sales team focused on immediate revenue. So you might have like a big dog sales guy that runs the team. He hasn't really got the skills, time, or anything like that to do this stuff. And you got the marketing team just on the hamster wheel trying to service them, and sales enablement is sales' problem, but messaging has always been marketing's problem, right? So, and I think that this is one of those things I think that as a marketer you can grasp and put your hand up and take on the role, whether you call it sales enablement or not, because I think that if you can get the sales guy when they're new into the business and sort of start educating them on the ICP and the messaging, you're going to stand a lot better chance, aren't you, than at some kickoff that happens in 18 months' time and you're standing on the stage. If you can work with these folks one-on-one, then it's a great way to get that relationship and connection with the sales team. So I agree with this. But the other, I think, and also a lot of the points that you're making here about what we teach the AEs, I mean, back to the last, 2 points is really, some of that is about, well, what are the sticking points in the sales process and stuff? We're now, like we were saying just now, the skills for sales teams are changing. If you're a junior sales guy, you're going to need to learn something about enterprise selling, because there'll be even in the smaller deals, they're going to have that kind of profile, aren't they?
And you made you touched on a really good point about waiting for sales kickoff, because I've been with companies where we made the sales kickoff the training event, and it was like all the salespepeople want to do is party, because it's like, we just finished a grueling year. I want to get my award. Do I go to do I go to the sales trip or not? Of course, during the year, it's like we don't want to take people off the out of the out of the field, and I get that too. But it's like, this is it's just an essential element, and as you said, it's getting more and more complex. So let's spend the time to help them.
Yeah, and also plus, a seller, when they first come into the business, is hungry for information and knowledge. They've got a bit of grace time where, their first couple of quarters, they're not under so much pressure to perform. And this is a great time to get with them and to talk about this kind of stuff. But also, I mean, I'm talking about it as if it's us in marketing that are just giving the information. This is, sales enablement is a great way to get the two-way conversation going, as well as what's working and what's not working, right? Is when you start collaborating with the sales leaders about what needs to be enabled, what challenges they have in their sales team. It's a great thing. So that was number 3. What's your 4th?
The pressure is on product marketing. So, the first 3 things we talked about, product marketing comes up as an element of the solution, and I quote them to say, the pressure falls squarely on product marketing teams to break through the noise with clear, compelling positioning. They report that 37% of the people that they surveyed said that product marketing was their priority hire for the year. So that's good news. Hopefully, the other 63% already have good product marketing, in house. And one of the things I thought of is, digital marketing is necessary. You got to have a website. You got to have SDRs. You got to have field market. Yeah. But what are these people going to say in addition to sales if you don't have serious audience analysis and differentiated messaging, which is where product marketing fits in. And you could call it solution marketing, industry. I mean, there's obviously portfolio, a lot of different terms for it, but basically it's a skill set that one of the things that a couple things that from my experience is, one is that if the CMO doesn't have some sort of control over this resource, whether it's directly under them or indirect, then they have a hard time influencing the challenges we just noted. And the other thing is that product marketing is a discipline that has skills and everything about trying to do audience surveys, trying to do win-loss analysis, trying to turn that into messaging. But subject matter expertise is also kind of the development of instinctual knowledge. And I've certainly been in organizations where you've got both. You've got people that understand the audience because they've been in that business for before. They might have had actually, it was with a company that was selling in the insurance sector, and they had a guy who was on the industry marketing team who was an insurance executive, and they tended to like to do that. Hire somebody who was did the job before, and he's surrounded with a couple other people who understand the product marketing discipline. Yeah. And so that's a great combination. Sometimes, you hire subject matter experts in on the sales team or the pre-sales team. Again, you want to have the CMO wants to have access either direct or indirect to these people to help them, assess these, answer these challenges that we've been talking about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, the thing that I'm finding quite reassuring as I reflect on the report and some of the points that we're making is that I think sometimes, and it comes from a VC company, I think VCs are sometimes the problem, right, with the pressure they put the young company under in terms of delivering against performance and not building these kind of foundational things. So to see a VC talk about the value of product marketing, the value of sales enablement, I think that's really interesting and really good, right? Yeah. And also, that's my route to marketing. I was a former product marketing leader. I also, I came from a pre-sales and technical consulting background in MarTech. So, and I think, so therefore I was more of a technical product specialist that came through into product marketing. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that experience of working directly with customers, either client side or in the vendor, is incredibly important. But also, like one of the points I was thinking about when I was looking at what you were going to say here is that performance marketing seems to be getting all the attention and all the budget and all the resources right now, so that we can because it's all about the sugar rush of attention and short-termism and all the things we keep talking about marketing, and product marketing doesn't. Yeah. Actually, I'm thinking we could probably do a whole show about bloody product marketing, and I'm going to try and stop talking in a minute. Because one of the other little threads he sort of pulled at just a tiny bit there is about whether product marketing should work under marketing or whether they should work under product. And I'm a strong believer that it needs to work under under marketing because it provides that conduit into product. The problem is when product marketing sits under product, they become product management, and they become, they then become the people that are handing over to marketing. We've created this feature. Well, nobody gives a fuck about that feature. Yes, really. But we love it. Well, go market it. And whereas I think if you've got a product marketer who's got a foot in both camps, they can then be the voice of the market into product management to say, people don't want that. They want this. This is going to help us sell. So I think that's important. And
as we've often talked about, the CMO helping to be the voice of the market within the executive team, having this function is an essential part of that.
Exactly. You're losing some of your superpower if you let product marketing move into product. Anyway, so we're coming up to the last one. We're way
Number
over
5.
What's your fifth?
Number 5. The AI revolution is here. This somewhat seems out of I mean, everything we've been talking about has been kind of like sales and marketing collaboration focused. But, AI is like the big buzz. And it's like I was reading the stats of, what people are responding they use AI for. 62% of companies are using AI for writing copy, and 90% either are or will be using AI. And I thought, oh my gosh, as a writer, I was like, blasphemy, because this leads to relatively generic white bread messaging for your customers. And not that you can't use it to help, do your research but it's like, if that's your priority for using AI, I think, we've got some issues here. They also talk about personalization, 84% using or considering automating SDR outreach. 75% are either using or considering. Doesn't seem very personal. Also, other current popular use cases are product marketing. That I don't quite understand. Maybe there's something they need to drill down a little bit more to make sense. Creative design, which is kind of lame, because then it's it's like your white bread copy, but now it's in design. And brainstorming, well, obviously that could be helpful.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the list were the things, the use cases that I would say help the issues we just laid out. So analyzing customer interactions, 19%, pipeline management, 16%, account list segmentation, 24%. But I mean, those are the things that I think would really help with the issues we've laid out. And so if I was a CMO, I'd like, let's flip the priorities. Without getting a better understanding of our accounts and how they're interacting with our company, how can we refine our ICP? How can we shorten the sales cycles? How can we message to buyer urgency? And how can we provide our AEs with better tools for closing deals? The other areas make certain jobs in marketing easier, but not necessarily smarter.
I like that. That's a really good statement about making jobs easier, not smarter, because like you say, if we're just perceiving marketing to be this hamster wheel of production, then yes, those are the top things that marketing would use AI for, because nobody gives a fuck about the output, right? It's, oh yeah, there you go. There's another blog post, there's another white paper, and on we go. So your observation is completely correct, and also the observation that they're making. Although I would say, what I don't know about with AI, because it's quite a fast-moving topic, whether this has evolved. There is talk about the fact that marketing teams are using AI a bit more strategically than perhaps they were, in terms of, not just for creating copy. But I think that's still I would say, if you were to survey people today, that's probably the biggest use case. So I agree with you. And also, this is our mandatory mention of AI that we have to have in every conversation.
We're trying to get clicks.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that the froth comes off of this conversation, because I think when we were talking about when we had the budget conversation, I can't remember whether it was the Forrester or I had time to prepare this. I can't remember if it was the Gartner or Forrester report, but one of the reports that we were looking at as part of the budget thing, AI came up as a priority. It was like the third top priority to do something with AI, and I've got the air quotes going on here. So hopefully this year we've moved from marketers shoehorning AI projects in just because they need an AI project to really focusing on the fundamentals, then looking at their processes, and then how AI can help with those processes, not, putting the cart before the horse or whatever, right? So I think that, and I mean, we need to factor in, we've talked about this, we need to factor in time for experiments and to look at this stuff, but I don't think we should be thinking, oh, here comes AI, how can I apply it to everything? So I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Plus, one of the benchmarks, well, actually, a number of the benchmarks talk about the decrease in investment in technology. So it's how are we leveraging AI? Is that from free tools off the web? Is that from capabilities within the vendor solutions we already have? Is that going out and buying something that helps you understand customer interactions based on your data, which starts to get expensive? So, I
think, well, I mean, again, it could be a whole show on this one, because I think that, it's interesting. It's all good and interesting. And there's also, some good work in terms of synthesized audiences. So bringing down the cost of doing that insight. So exactly what you're saying is that thinking about how to do it to refine our strategy and our ICP and all that good stuff, not just to create copy. I heard somebody refer to it actually that it's a bit like when computer mainframes came into marketing and came into our business, and we would just use them to do accounts, whereas we could have been analyzing our custom profiles and all that kind of stuff back in the 70s. And there's a little bit of a feeling that some people are talking about with AI. We've hired Shakespeare and a whole bunch of famous physicists and scientists, and we're getting them to create shit copy, right? So it's like, whereas they could probably do a lot more for us. Anyway, yes, and my takeaway, and I know that I've given a lot of takeaways. I don't usually have so much of a commentary. My takeaway from the report was I guess I answered my own question earlier when I was talking about this coming from a VC company, was there was a refreshing focus on revenue, which is what I'm kind of thinking that any kind of this kind of research right now needs to take a look at. The only challenge I had with it, and we talked about this in the budgeting thing, is that their survey said that all of these companies, well, the majority of these companies were looking to increase revenue, but the majority of these companies were decreasing the investment in marketing. And you've got to believe there's a challenge going to come along there, right? There's a problem. Something's got to give.
Something's got to give.
So quick summary. So that was 5 takeaways from you. Sales cycles are getting longer. Number 2, the pressure for buyer urgency. Number 3, we need to teach our AEs well. Number 4, the pressure is on product marketing. And number 5, the AI revolution is here. And I think we could have just said that. We didn't really talk about the AI thing. So we move on to the last agenda item. And again, I guess by dint of the fact that you've done all the work and you're coming back from holiday, it's your pick. What are you going for, mate?
Remember the Name. That's the title of the tune from a group called Fort Minor, which sounds like a place, but it's actually a group that was a spin-off of Linkin Park. And the tune came out in 2005. And I actually hadn't heard of this group before, but it's like I love the chorus is, this is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 15% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name. So nice. It's like, if you're trying to get your buyer to have your name foremost in their mind for solving their problems, you got to put in a lot of luck. There's a lot of luck. You got to put in a lot of skill. I would ignore the percentages they used because I think it was a different purpose for this. But the 100% reason to remember the name, absolutely.
Yeah. So do you think it's more than 50% pain then?
I don't know. These actually, what I didn't do is I didn't try to add the numbers up. Let's see. 10 plus 20, that's 30 plus 15, 45. It does add up to 100%.
Oh, well done.
They're pretty good
at math. Marvelous. Yeah. Well, so I'll play out with Remember the Name by Fort Minor from 2005. Next week, you get another week off because it's Kathy week. So I'll be catching up with Kathy next week as it's the first Wednesday of the month. And so I shall be in the studio with you in 2 weeks' time.
Excellent.
Look forward to it, man. I'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Let's go. Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, 100% reason to remember the name. He doesn't need his name up in lights, he just wants to be heard, whether it's the beat.
Thank you, Jeff. And that was a little snippet of Remember the Name by Fort Minor from 2005, a tune I was not familiar with. But that lyric that Jeff picked out there probably resonates with a lot of you marketers, as I think the findings of that report we picked out this week will as well. I hope you like the points that Jeff picked out there. So that's a wrap on episode 286 of the Rockstar CMO effing marketing podcast. Thanks to Jeff for his insight and to you for putting your dime into our podcasting jukebox, selecting our track and jiving along with us. I've been your host, Ian Truscott. You can find links to me, Jeff, and the Norwest report that we refer to there in the show notes on rockstarcmo.com. You can also find our blog, newsletter, and all of our previous episodes. We'd love to hear from you, so please reach out via the website or LinkedIn. Just search Rockstar CMO. I'm sure you'll find us. But please mention that you're a listener if you'd like to connect. Coming up, I'll be chatting with Robert in our virtual bar on Friday, so that'll drop on Saturday. And as we mentioned, it's time for Kathy's monthly visit to the studio next week, so I'm looking forward to that. And I hope you'll also join us here at Rockstar CMO FM.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Hennika Watkis-Porter hosts The Entrepreneurial You, empowering entrepreneurs with insights on leadership, business, and success. Hennika, tell listeners what to expect from your show.
So we provide innovative business strategies and practical solutions to common entrepreneurial challenges.
And where can people subscribe?
Find us at hennikawatkisporter.com, as well as the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net, or search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.